Good morning, everyone. My name is Colette Staub. I am the area sales manager with America's. I am really excited to be here with you this going over this Keller Williams shift lead capture and conversion material. This is my career working with. I have been licensed in Pennsylvania. I was licensed since 1995 and worked as an agent. So I know what I know all about generating business and capturing leads, and then did it more as a relocation director. So working with corporate, affinity, broker to broker, and internet leads, and capturing that, helping agents capture more of that business. So what we're going to talk about today is your perspective of capturing leads and how you do that. So capture, connect, and close to appointment, and then track, review, and improve, and then how that impacts your bottom line. So perspective. Capture and conversion systems work in partnership with lead generation. So I think that Gary Keller says, without conversion, leads really mean nothing, right? So you can be capturing a lot of leads, say from your web page, but if you are getting a lot of referrals from past clients, but if you're not getting those referrals and capturing them, it doesn't matter. So the market right now, we're talking about a shifting market, a little bit of a change, obviously, because we're still experiencing that lack of inventory, but definitely a different twist on it now with COVID-19, with being shut down for a while. Things have definitely changed. So we are market. So fewer leads, you need to capture more. And right now, I would say the leads that are really, really scarce are those listing seller leads. That's what you really need. When you get one of those, it's so important. So it's all about getting to the table, first to that table where you can folks face to face, and then important settle everybody wants to be. So that's right now we're in a seller's market, but still some people that are a little bit, I think, afraid of getting their house back on the market. And in a buyer's market, low conversion rate will produce a small number of sales. Where do you want to be most of the time? You want to be in capturing a high number of leads. That's where the sweet spot and the money is. So shifting markets can test your skills, and I bet everyone's learned something new over the past few months about how to conduct business. Whether it was, I've talked to agents who have closed on deals where they have never met the buyer in person, and they did it all virtually, did closing virtually. So we're learning a lot of new things and a lot of new ways. And a lot of agents say, gosh, do I really ever want to sit at a settlement table again when I can do it virtually, or we can do it, do things digitally. So things are changing. I think we're going to see long range, some things change in this business. So what we're going to talk about market skills, capturing leads and then connecting with them, closing an appointment, cultivating leads, and then holding your team accountable. If anyone on this call might, and not just in business by themselves. We're going to talk about capture skills, but the people on the team don't. It's still not going to get you where you want to be, right? So be prepared. Scripts. Well, really, when you say script marketer, so they do not want to get into a situation where they're reading something and just becoming, like a robot, that type of thing. And that doesn't work, and that doesn't capture leads. So really what a script comes down to is it's probably always going to be changing as the market changes and the type of lead that you're talking to. There's a mega agent, a Keller Williams mega agent here in Pennsylvania, Mike Soroka. And I'm not sure if any of you You know him, he presents a lot. He talks about he's earning them so that he sounds, he owns it. It's not him reading a script or trying to remember it. It really is his prepared presentation, and then to keep changing it. What works? What doesn't work? How's the market change? What do you do? Role play. How do you overcome objections? How do you get someone to really want to meet with you? You've got that initial lead. How do you get it to be a meeting? And then different behavioral styles that are out there. I think one of the biggest ones that we all learn early on as an agent is how do we mirror the person that we're talking to. That helps us capture more leads when people are comfortable with our style. So being able to recognize, is someone a driver, is someone analytic, and then how do we play back to that so that we're delivering our message in a style that they can really appreciate. So 4 steps in the conversion: connect, connect. So you're getting that lead, which is the first connection. Connection after that is, how do you make them want to continue to work with you, get together to have that meeting? How do you cultivate that lead? Because they might not be ready right away, correct? We know you get those leads sometimes in their 6 months to a year, could be even more out. And you want to get to that point where you're able to get them in a queue and always have that pipeline. And then, of course, get to that conversion. So this morning, we're talking about, how are you also going to interact with this material? So are you the prisoner? You have to be there. Maybe you're on a team and your team leader said you have to go through this, through shift, and you're here and you're not going to engage. You're catching up on your emails. You're looking at messages on your phone. You believe a certain thing and you're not open to hearing how there are other ways of looking at things and other ways of doing things, multitasking, and maybe saying, I disagree with you, or this is wrong, and this is why. So that's the prisoner. You're probably here because you don't want to be here. Vacationer, you're here, hey, I'm going to do some training. This is a great way to spend some time, maybe learn a few things, but not necessarily really, really focused in on those goals and paying attention. And then there's the explorer, somebody who's excited and curious. They want to learn, how can I do things better? How can I learn about new tools and skills? So listening attentively, asking questions, really being here, taking notes, just being respectful of how everyone learns, because some people have a lot of questions. Other people just sort of take it in. And certainly, Leonard can share my contact information. So if there's anything, you have a question later and you think of it, absolutely, feel free. So step 1, capture. So who do you want to capture? Right now, you may be working with a lot of buyers already, correct? A lot of buyers who maybe lost out on 1 or 2 houses, and you're maybe working on your 3rd. Sellers are always the lifeblood of real estate, but right now, because there's so little on the market, you really, really want to get those listing leads and capture 100%, if at all possible. Get those listed, because that's really where you're going to be able to control your business. And then it might be a niche that you have beyond that, like high end, a certain geographic area, certain demographics. Maybe it's millennials or first time buyers, that type of thing. So you've got to figure out, who is it you're trying to capture, right? First and foremost, what type of leads do you want? How are you building your business? If you haven't met with your team leader, or you haven't also met with Leonard and figured out what is it you want to do with your business this year, definitely you want to meet with them so that you have a goal in mind, because that goal is going to be drive those leads you want to capture, right? So you want to find people that are motivated, buyers or sellers. They have a reason and they want to move now. They're agreeable to doing what it takes to move now, and they have the means. So they're ready, willing, and able. And what I found over the years with working with, whether it's corporate broker to broker, affinity, internet leads, is that sometimes when you're working with buyers, especially, and 2 things: buyers, that sometimes you have to be the driver. They know they need a bigger house. They know they want to be in a different school district. And what you need to do is keep them on track, have a plan. And, if they seem to be drifting and you're sending them things and saying, hey, I think you ought to look at this, and they're not, they're just not responding. Hey, do you still want to be in that new school district by September? Here's what we need to do now. So sometimes you really have to take charge with a buyer, because as we always say, life gets in the way. Maybe a child gets sick, or they start a new job, or whatever, and they're busy with other things. So sometimes we as real estate agents are the ones that need to keep those buyers on track. Sellers, I think, are a little bit scared right now because they're worried about not selling their house, because 9 times out of 10, that's not going to be a problem. It's where are they going to move? What are they going to find? I know in Pennsylvania, builders stopped building. They were shut down back in March and have just gotten to the point where they're able to start up again. So there's not even that cushion of new construction out there for folks. So that's making sellers, a little bit hesitant too. So you've got to be able to convince them that you're able to help them if they are purchasing locally, that you're someone who's able, your negotiating skills, your knowledge of the market, you're going to be able to get them into a house. So every lead is either now, ready, willing, and able, future, ready at some time in the future, which means that you need to have a system command in order to keep these leads and nurture them, because what you want is a pipeline. So a lot of times agents are saying, I have leads, they're not ready yet. This is a lead that's not ready for 6 or 12 months. That doesn't matter. Yes, you need leads right now that can close, but you want to nurture those leads because you always want to keep the pipeline full, right? And then never, and some that you'll just never reach, or they'll say to you, hey, don't call me again. I'm not going to do this. And then we just have to respect that, of course. So who are your preferred customers? What are their profiles? And does your prospecting and marketing target these customers? So stop and think about that. So before you even get into, lead generation and lead capture, you really have to think about, this is what I want. These are the leads I want. And then how do I get them? Right now, a shift definitely in, you might be an agent who farms certain areas and you go out and you knock on doors. A lot of people do that, especially in the spring market. May not be able to do that right now. People may not be happy to have someone on their doorstep with COVID-19, but are you a member of a closed Facebook group for different neighborhoods? Are you able to prospect that way? Online, through social media, be able to do those things. So capture from calls, from 800 numbers, offers in newspapers, magazines, flyers, open houses, outbound calling. A couple of things. I am a big proponent of open houses. I know there's 2 schools of thought with that, but as a new agent especially, and I didn't have my own listings right away, I did a lot of open houses. And my initial business that I got, they were actually people coming through these open houses, didn't buy that house, but we went on to buy another house. Outbound calling, definitely, it's one of the hardest things that you have to do as a real estate agent. But if you're not spending time making phone calls, you're doing yourself and your business such a disservice. I can't tell you how I've just come to believe after almost 25 years in the real estate business that if you're not spending time prospecting and making phone calls, it's hard to ever get to be the real level of success you're looking for. Just no good way around it. So phone calls, there's that old school with have the mirror in front of you, smile, all of those things, so that when you're answering the phone, you are, it's coming through that you're excited to talk to this person and that this is somebody they want to really work with. Answer quickly. Another thing that I've, over the years, working with agents, because I've done a lot of coaching, helping them, my department would be responsible for bringing in all of those leads. And then the other side of it was me to coach the ones who weren't converting enough of that business, was to help them through that. So when you're answering and really, always answering, hey, good morning, Jane Smith. Good afternoon, Jane Smith. Keller Williams, so that not only are you excited to talk to them, but they know who they're talking to right away. Identify yourself. That's something I've come to truly believe in, and it's so important. Every time you answer your phone, hey, good afternoon, Colette, Staub, just so they know right away who they're talking to. Speaking warmly, with confidence, with enthusiasm, make them feel that you really want to talk to them. There's nothing worse than talking to a salesperson who you feel doesn't want your business. That is one of the biggest turnoffs out there, and you've probably all been on the wrong end of a conversation or a phone call like that. And you got to ask for the appointment. If you don't ask for it, you're not going to get it. So you're going to have to ask for the appointment. Hey, the next step really is for us to get together in the office. Would you be able to meet tomorrow at 3 o'clock, or, would Thursday at noon work better? But you have to ask for that appointment, because they're not going to offer. You're going to have to ask for it, right? So you've got to also systematize your capture, which means you've got to use, for your case, command, for putting all your leads in. You can do logs. Years ago, and I can't remember the name of the program. It was pretty much an Excel spreadsheet, and I used an Excel spreadsheet for a long time. Used that and was doing the paper thing. It was back in the 90s, back when MLS books came with little, 1-inch little pictures, black and white pictures. So that still works if that's your comfort level, but with so much at your fingertips in terms of command and using Outlook to plan meetings and schedule yourself, it's going to make your life so much easier, even if it means learning a new skill to be able to do that, right? So get all the leads in your database, whether it's somebody who calls you, you're driving, conversation, someone you meet at a coffee shop, whatever it is, a referral from another agent, an email, whatever you get, you've got to capture it and you've got to get it into the database. And without that, you're lost. So definitely doing that. A lot of systems, you can actually take an Excel file and download it into it without having to do all of that data capture. So if you've been tracking on an Excel spreadsheet, in many cases, you're able to download that right into the CRM. Definitely worth taking a little bit of time to do that. So your capture system. What's everybody doing? Are you using command? What do you have going on out there? Anybody want to volunteer? No? Okay. So I know that you have command is something that's available to you as a KW agent, but if you're not doing anything and everything's sort of, just on little pieces of paper, take a little bit of time and decide what system you're going to use and then get set up on that system, okay? So connect. Speed counts. So many, especially internet leads, they never get an answer. So if you answer promptly, and even if it goes to voicemail, a good chance you might be in a listing presentation, you might be working with a buyer, showing houses, and you can't pick up the call, as soon as you possibly can, return that call. The faster you do it, the higher the chances are that you will be able to convert that. So if you don't respond quickly, there's someone else out there that will, especially internet leads. If they don't get you, they could be moving on to someone else. So you just have a couple of minutes to create that first impression, right? You can't go back and do that again. So speed to the lead definitely is so important here. So reasons to have a conversation: you want to see if they're motivated. You want to get that appointment. You want to be able to provide some answers. You want to build relationships, move buyers to pre-approval. It is a red flag in today's day and age. When I started selling real estate, we actually sort of pre-qualified buyers to figure out how much they could buy, because you didn't have online pre-approvals from mortgage companies. But if they won't get pre-approved, that's kind of a red flag, because they can do it in 30 minutes. It's pretty painless. And then get that action plan together and communicate it to that, whether it's a buyer, here's what we need to do, or it's a seller, hey, list with me, here are the things I will do for you. And one of the things I found for capture on listing presentations that is just, it blows people away, is dates and deliverables. Here's what I can do for you. Here's, if we list tonight, here's when I'm going to do them. And giving them a copy of that so that they hold you accountable. You can hold yourself accountable. It is just an amazing thing. So that would be, part of when you're in person, face to face, whether it's a listing presentation or that buyer consultation. So you want to ask questions. It's okay to have a sheet, put together the things that you need to know because you want to know about their motivation, their price. You also want to find out, have they been working with another agent? Have they seen houses with them? So that you can explain to them, hey, from this point forward, I'm willing to be totally devoted to getting you the house of your dreams, but I need for us to, to really work together and explain to them the problems that happen. If they've seen a house with someone else. So talk about that. Financing, do they already have financing set up, or do you need to get them with your mortgage contact? And just make sure you have different ways to reach them. And if it's a couple, you want to make sure you have contact information for both, especially if you're emailing, and even with texting. Sometimes you can make the assumption that you're talking maybe to the husband and that you think the spouse knows everything you've said to that person. You find out later the spouse is not happy because they haven't been filled in on any of this. So the more you can communicate with both parties, the better off you will be, and the smoother that will go for sure. Just for buyers, what's your dream home? What's making you move? Why do you want to move? Do you have a house to sell currently? Have you talked to a real estate agent about selling that house? Are you pre-approved with the lender, price range? All of those things, trying to figure out what it is that they're looking for. Also, at this stage, this might be somebody new coming into the area. They have a house to sell in Chicago. They have a house to sell in California, wherever it might be. That's where you also, in terms of lead generation, you always want to ask everyone you're working with, if it's a buyer, do you have a house to sell? If so, do you have someone to help you if it's outside of your area? With a seller, where are you moving if it's outside of the area? Can I refer you to another agent just like me? Because when you start asking that question with every single person you're working with, you will probably find that you increase your income at least 25%. So typical, broker to broker referral fee, about usually 25%, maybe 30%. So what's going to happen is you're going to start getting this business maybe outside of your marketplace, but you'll get 25% in a referral fee. And then, you'll definitely make sure that you get both sides if both sides are local. So that just asking that question can really boost your income a lot. So for questions, the address, you can do a CMA. Why do you want to move? Have you interviewed other agents? Really important. What do you think your home is worth? We've all seen the meme on Facebook with, here's what your seller thinks their house is worth. Here's what the buyer thinks. Here's what the appraiser thinks. Everybody has a different view, and trying to get to a point where they can be realistic about what the house is going to sell for. So again, you got to ask for the appointment, 50-50 chance with yes, 0 chance if you don't ask for it, and offer a good reason to meet. Definitely for a buyer, if they're serious and ready to move, especially if they either have never purchased before or it's been a long time since they purchased their last house, to say, let's get together. I want to go through the whole process with you so you know what to expect, all along the way. So that's a really good reason for a buyer to want to meet with you. And then for a seller, obviously, to do that listing presentation, show them what you can do. So stay focused on uncovering needs and responding to them, because that's a big part of how to keep them motivated, is knowing what those needs are. get it in your database right now. That's, again, I cannot stress how important that is to make sure everything's in your database. Funny, Leonard and I were having a conversation just yesterday, and he asked me questions about, have you talked to this person? Do you know this person? And I couldn't remember because I talk to so many people every day. But I went back into my database and I said, yes, I talked to this person and talked to this person. No, I haven't talked to this person. So I was able to answer his questions only because every time I make a phone call or I have a meeting, immediately afterwards, it goes right into my CRM. Or we use NetSuite. So it goes right in there so that when somebody asks me a question, I'm able to go back and say yes, no, or it's upcoming. So that's really important. Action plans for buyers, keep them on track. As I said, dates and deliverables is so impressive when you go out on a listing presentation. So does anybody want to talk about how they're connecting with leads? Anything that you want to share that's been really successful for you? And I can't see the hand raising because I'm sharing my screen, so just jump in.
Hi, this is Hannah. So I actually just got a lead a few weeks ago through the referral network.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be my first listing.
And
congrats. I totally forgot about me being in the referral network. And so that is a great turned out to be a great resource. Somebody just randomly called me from Keller Williams in Florida.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, broker to broker business, I've worked all over the country. I have contacts throughout the US and even some in Canada just from working broker to broker leads. It's amazing. When you start sending out those leads too, you're going to find that those people will connect with you and they're going to send leads back to you. So definitely take advantage of that. I mean, Keller Williams has such a deep national network of great agents. They've got lots of business in your area. So whenever you have a chance, but honestly, asking for the lead outside of your market, that's an easy way to boost your income, usually by about 25%, right? So thank you for sharing that. So you're cultivating those action plans to cement that relationship. One of the things that I actually can tell you, we have a little bit of sort of scientific proof. I worked for the Big Blue company for a while. One of the large companies in Florida sort of conducted an experiment. A lot of leads coming in from different sources. And so for an agent getting the lead, say, it could be an internet lead. It's cold. There's no connection. It's not your friend referring someone to you or a past client or anything like that. It's really sort of a cold lead. It's an internet lead. And they had agents that were accepting these leads just on their phone, video, short little intro video. Hi, my name is Jane Smith. I've been working in Central Florida for 15 years. Just here are the reasons, really short, less than a minute, little video, but this person sees your face. So after they would try to reach the person by phone, whether they got them or not, if they got them and were able to have a conversation, great. If not, they sent out this little introductory video. So now it's a name and a face. It's not some agent who is assigned, quote unquote, to help me find a house. This is a real person. And they did it for a year. And they found out that their conversion went up 30%. So when your conversion goes up 30%, your income is going up 30%. So really important so I started doing that locally. I was working with agents in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and started having them ideally, get off the phone with Mr. Smith or try to reach Mr. Smith and then send a short video saying, hi, Mr. Smith, it's Jane Williams. I just left you a message, making it specific to that person. But even if it's a short, generic video and they see your face and you become a person to them right away, it's incredible what it does to getting you to that point where you're connecting with them. So think of that, and I know it's hard. I've done a lot of videos over the past few years, but getting to do the first one was the hardest one. And I don't know how many times I re-recorded it before I was finally happy with it. And now I will just pick up my phone. I'll do it. I know what I want to say ahead of time, keep it short, and I don't do a lot of editing. I just pretty much, naturally, this is who I am, and send it out to that person. So if you're not doing that in terms of conversion, think about it. And it can be tough. And, I had a boss who finally I did it, and he was like, see, you didn't have the hair and makeup people there, but it worked out fine, right? He was right. It did. So you want to also, it helps them, maintain top of mind status, that video. Now they can see your face when they think about, the agent I'm working with. You have to provide continuous value. So whatever that is, it might be statistics, it might be anything to do with something that's changed, mortgage rates, all of those things, but you really need to provide value all the time. And your communication, make it targeted to their motivation. As I said, it could be they want to be in that better school district by September. Keep coming back to that. I think some agents are afraid, they don't want to appear pushy, but I can also tell a story about one time I sent a referral. We were selling my father's house, and it was too far for me to really do it. So I referred it to someone, but I was really, really busy with work and a lot of things going on. My kids were young, and the agent that they referred it to at the brokerage called me. I don't know, 3-4 times. I just, and I really was relying on her to just keep contacting me, that when she finally called, there would be a time when I'd be able to pick up the phone and have a conversation with her, right? And I got a call from the relocation director at the brokerage. Are you still doing this? Because the agent said she's calling you and you're not answering the phone. And that was pretty embarrassing, because I was a relocation director too. But we finally connected, and I said, you know what? I said, I need to do this. My siblings are looking at me to take care of it because I'm the one in real estate. And I appreciate the fact that you kept coming back until, unless someone said, no, we're not still interested. And I did ultimately list the house with her, and she had a buyer. So she actually ended up getting both sides of it. But it was a testament to her, because I was not responding, and it's embarrassing, but I was not responding, and she kept reaching out to me. So think about that sometimes. Unless someone tells you, no, don't contact me, they may be relying on you to keep this going. So you just want to make sure you can get to that appointment, and that's persistence is what usually gets you there. So, you have an action plan, whether it's 8x8, 33 touch, consistently or forever. There are some tools. There are some, KW courses, E-Edge, I know in Command, you have different things that you can use in there. So take advantage of that, but you need to have an action plan, and you need to consistently work it and stay in touch with people. A lot of times it takes more than 1, 2, or 3 touches to get them where you both need to be. Ask for the appointment. Always ask. Have scripts. You know what works. If you've been doing this for a while, think about it, write it down, have it in front of you. I am big on checklists. So for me, it's not necessarily a script the way you would think of it, but I have a list of things for certain phone calls. Here are the things I need to know, and then check it off as I get my answers. But that way you won't forget anything important, and it keeps you on track. So if 50% will come to the office, meet them for coffee. I think in Delaware you can eat outside, you can have coffee outside, or most likely with a listing, you'll end up at their home. So update your database, use notes. My example yesterday, Leonard asking me questions, could not remember to save my life. 20 years ago, I might have been able to just spout off that list, but not now. So I am just totally dedicated to updating my database constantly with calls, notes, everything. Okay. So what are you doing? What if has anybody found something with cultivating leads? You've done the work to get the lead. You call them, and now you've got to get them to the point where you're meeting, showing houses. Anybody doing anything that they're really excited about that really works? No, and as I said, just I can't see anything. I can't see any hands raising or anything like that. But jump in if there's anything you want to share. Okay, so are you anticipating the changing needs of your leads? And think about that. We're going through a time right now where people are making different decisions. So how are you working with this current situation that we have? One of the things I think, we're all at different places with this COVID-19 and how we feel about it, and getting back to normal and just respecting where everybody is. Some people are still really, I talked to an agent last week who did a listing presentation on someone's deck. They had purchased the house with her a few years earlier, so she was familiar with the house. She was really nervous. She was upset that when she got back, she was out with other people, and she was really nervous. So there might be sellers that feel the same way. They're just, what can you do to make them feel more comfortable meeting? Maybe you are doing the listing presentation on their deck or patio. What can you do? So, and your action plans on a listing presentation, I cannot stress this too much. Having that list of dates and deliverables it just blows sellers away. A lot of people, that's how they're working. They're responsible for things at work, and they understand that, and they really identify with that. So if you're not doing that on the listing presentation, think about it, please. So converting. Okay, so you need to know your markets, national and local, because you might be working with somebody who is either coming from another market or somebody who's selling and moving to another market. Really important. Are they going to be able to replace the house they have here in the market they're going to, and preparing them for that? And big part of preparing them is finding them the right agent. So know your data, be numbers driven. Communication skills are all in this business. This is such a one-on-one communication is key. Great sales and persuasive skills. If you can preview properties, one of the things about a low inventory is that for any given buyer, there probably aren't going to be that many properties to preview. So it makes it a little bit easier. But that is something buyers really appreciate too. Working with through relocation, I've worked with every year probably 1,000 or more referrals that came to fruition, and that I was overseeing in a certain aspect, working with the agents. When they would call me, I would coach them if they were having trouble getting through and getting to where they convert. So I've seen a lot, because not that I've been part of that many transactions, but every year for 25 years, many transactions. So I'm able to learn a lot of different things about what works and what doesn't work, what resonates with buyers and sellers. So conversion rates. And this is something, going back when I first started doing relocation, and we would bring in all these leads, and I had to be responsible for the source, who converted what, especially with affinity leads, broker to broker. There was no referral fee being paid if my agents didn't convert. So it became important for me to really track conversion rates and then be able to coach people who weren't converting at that rate. And at first, there were some agents that were really unhappy. They did not like that they felt it was, the scorecard was sort of judging them. But then as we went through and it became an exercise, and they could see that there were certain types of transactions they were really good at converting. And some of them said, you know what, like, I just want the broker to broker leads because I convert them really well. I'm not going to spend time on other leads. This is what I excel at. Others wanted to become better. And almost all of them who were successful came back and said, you know what? It was really uncomfortable getting those scorecard conversion rates from you. But boy, it made me not only better at converting the business that I was getting from the company, but I put a lot of those things into practice with my own business. I'm making more money now too on my own business. So you want to know how you're doing with the leads that you're converting, because it'll help you. It really will help you get better, and it'll give you something to strive for and become better every year. So that's something you really want to do. You want to look at, how many leads did I get? How many people did I actually get to meet with? And then of those that I met with, how many did I end up going to settlement with? And then another thing that you want to think about is how many leads did I get from those people I closed with? How many leads was I able to generate from that, right? So don't lose any leads. They're all important. So unless they tell you, don't call me, at some point, if they raise their hand, even if it's an internet lead, they're looking at things, there's something in their head. They are going to start at some point, they're going to look for a house or they're going to sell their house. So if you're a team leader, just as I said, you could start to break it down and you see people excel at certain types of leads. Get that person, those leads to that person. Focus on lead conversion. Get back with all the people you've met with. Do all of those things. Don't let any of them fall out of the pipeline unless they tell you, no, I don't want you to call me ever again, or they bought with someone else. And now they're good probably for a while. So you've worked really hard. You usually end up putting a combination of time and money into generating leads. Don't let any of them fall away. So, and it's a continuum because they might be, what, we're not moving now. There's things are too uncertain. We'd like a bigger house. We're not. And then they just, as things change, as the market changes, as their situation changes, then they move along that continuum. So don't be discouraged when you get somebody and you think, gosh, this person is, maybe it's just because right now they don't have the financial wherewithal. A year, 2 years, they're there. They've saved up that initial down payment. Don't put all that initial energy and then let them go and buy with someone else, right? So somewhere down the line, they become a lead. Reasons why sellers are not right. They're not motivated to price correctly. Some of them right now, I think, maybe are looking at, because there's such little inventory, they're even thinking they can get more than they probably could. They don't want to get the house into good selling condition, or they're just not ready to move. There's no urgency and they just become sort of lackadaisical. That's where, if you can clarify their motivation and get them on an action plan, that's where you can keep them on track. It can be hard sometimes, especially when the property isn't in good selling condition, because a lot of agents are telling me that even with the low inventory, if the house isn't priced right and it's not in good condition, buyers still aren't interested. Buyers might not be ready financially. They might have a house to sell. They just don't have that motivation. They're not sure. Some people can't make a decision. But I think that there's a lot, when you have things in place already and you have an action plan, there's a lot you can do to move them along, or realize when, hey, they're not ready now. They're going back, into the pipeline. I'm going to keep in touch with them. I'll make those touches, but I'm not taking them out and driving them around because this just isn't the right time. You'll start to be able to see that a lot faster too, which also helps you. When somebody's just not at that point, put them back in the pipeline, spend your time with the people who are ready right now, right? So with conversion, would you like me to handle the sale for you? For sellers, would you like me to get your home sold? In this case, probably everyone can get it sold quickly. But your negotiating skills, how you can work those multiple offers that you can get more. For buyers, would you like me to help you find your dream home? Are you ready? Are you ready to make an agreement right now? Are you ready to jump on this? Because right now, if you're not ready to move on something, it's probably going to be gone. If you're going to, be someone who has to take, I need a week to think about it. Well, you don't have a week right now. And that's where they need to really understand from your market knowledge, right? So knowing your progress in lead capture and conversion is essential. As I said, I've seen this personally with working with so many agents over so many years, and with myself, with my own real estate career. What am I doing right? How do I fix it? Go back to Mike Soroka, mega agent, KW in Pennsylvania, constantly changing his selling approach, constantly. His listing presentation, practicing it, even though he's a pro and he's been doing it for 20 years and he's one of the top agents, he still keeps working on it. So something that's working right now, something could happen 6 months from now, or at the end of last year. Could we have ever predicted what's going on with COVID-19? So you got to be constantly what works, and when it isn't working, pivot to the next thing. So understand by areas, leads to appointments to signed agreements, and then agreements to close transactions. And that's where you want to be, because that's where the money is, right? So is anybody tracking their conversion, and have they done something that they felt really improved their conversion? So that's something, if you're not doing that, that is something, probably the most basic thing that I think I would go back and say I've learned over my career as an agent, as a relocation director, is you have to know where your performance is, and you're not going to get better until you know where you are right now. Okay. So the bottom line, so every lead is precious. Every lead can turn into business. You just got to, you have to go through and you have to find out who's ready, willing, and able, but keep them in the pipeline. Keep working with them until they are ready, willing, and able. And then your market knowledge. So don't ever stop working on that. That's what sets us apart as professionals, is that we really understand the market and what's going on. And then, of course, ask for that appointment. You're not going to get anywhere. If you don't ask for the business, you don't get it, right? So you're going to be working on all kinds of different things constantly. The pipeline you have, your active listings, the buyers you're working with, all of those things. And you want to be that local expert, because one of the things that really sets you apart, if you become the only agent someone ever needs to know. So anyone who comes in contact with you professionally, maybe they just bought a house from you last year. Now they're thinking about maybe a house in Florida, or maybe they're thinking about their child that's buying their first house in Connecticut, that they come to you, that you are that real estate expert. And no matter where the business is, they come to you first to get your expert opinion, and that you'll find someone in that area who's the same local expert that you are down in Delaware. So that's a big way to grow your income for sure. So listing appointments, how are you doing? You go on 10 appointments. How many did you get how did you walk away with them? And then closings, how many listings, how many buyers, what's your profit? How much is it costing you to generate leads? And then, a lot of agents spend a lot of money on things like Zillow, spending a lot of money. What are you making? What is your profit from that funnel? Really, really taking a good hard look at things like that. So use this as a guide, put together an action plan, figure out how you're going to track your leads. How are you doing with those leads? Are you converting them? Write it down. The scripts you've got to think of, whether you use a real script. As I said, I use a checklist, but make it your own, so that when you're speaking with a buyer or a seller, it doesn't sound as though it's something you've memorized or you're reading, that it's how you do business and how you operate. So there is a lot of planning that goes into this, but once you spend the time planning, put together that action plan and then stick to it, you're going to see that your income is going to grow. It's really exciting. So there are some other things. I think you've been doing this. I think Leonard's got this set up every week for Tuesday at 11. And just I definitely, if there are any questions, because I've spent a lot of my career coaching agents with conversion of leads. So I'd be happy to have a conversation with anyone. If you want to talk a little bit more about conversion, feel free to reach out. Leonard has all my contact information. And a couple things I just wanted to share with you, because I've made a shift this year. I was in the real estate, relocation, referral, lead generation portion of the business. January, I made the jump to the home warranty business. And one of the reasons that I did that is because of this company that I just love, and I'm so lucky to be here. But a couple things that I really liked about it, and especially now with COVID-19, and of course, when I took the job in January, I could not have imagined us being in this situation with quarantine and everything. But one is that we do allow the homeowner to choose their own licensed contractor. So complete control over who's coming into their house. And not just that, but who's doing the work, that it's going to be done right and done to their satisfaction. So that's a big thing. Two other things that really have come into play with this current situation are List Secure, which is for 24 months after closing. If anything would happen with a legal dispute, the seller has up to $1,000 in legal coverage. And then also for agents and brokers, our Client Secure for 12 months after closing. If your E&O should kick in for any reason that you have to make a claim, we will pay 75% of your deductible up to $3,750. So some things that I thought were really important and could not have imagined back in January, how important they were going to come to be in the current business climate that we're in. So that's something that I'm really excited about, and glad that we're here and able, to help you. So let's see, we're getting here. We're going to talk about from ahas to achievement. There's some different things, what did you think about today? And feel free, to get in touch with me. Like, what really popped up in your head? What do you want to do? What behavior do you want to change? What tools are you looking for? The accountability part of it is so big. And then I'd love to check back in. Here we are in June. I'd love to check back in with everybody in December and say, hey, what did you put into play? And how do you think it helped you with your business? So that's about all I have. I think I went a few minutes over time, so I apologize. But does anybody have any questions? No, we're good.
Thank you, Colette. We appreciate it. If anyone does have questions they think of afterwards, definitely reach out to Colette. She is always there and available for us, whether it's a home warranty question or it's just a real estate question. I know that Colette has a world of experience and knowledge and willing to share with all of us here at Keller Williams in Newark and Middletown. So again, thank you, Colette, America's preferred home warranty. That is our home warranty partner, and available to our sellers and buyers.
Thank you, Leonard. Thank you, everyone, for your time and an extra few minutes that I didn't mean to take up also. But I'd love to hear from you all. I would definitely love to hear from you all, so feel free to reach out.
Again, thank you. Thank you to everyone for joining us, and we will be back here tomorrow for our team meeting. Thank you. Yes.
Bye-bye.